just need to find my home. I just need to find my home. I've been waiting too long. 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 I can't look past it. Nothing at all. Nothing to mask it, but it feels so drastic. But I cannot panic, so I get my chance to blow and hit that fucking road. I've been waiting too long. I've been waiting too long. I've been waiting too long.
Hello everybody. So it's nice to see you. It's our fourth webinar. So I guess we're just going to get started now. As you may have noticed, we already started interiors, and that's actually a great thing because we're actually going to go deeper into it, and I'm going to tell you a little bit more about all of that. Today's webinar is going to be mainly about our homework, and we're going to accept our inspirations. I know that it may appear a little bit elongated, but honestly, you need to understand that those parts of webinar are just mandatory because we want you to understand what you're doing. So anyway, please go through your folders now and delete those inspirations that didn't get any kind of marks. Right now, if you haven't got any marks, I mean exclamation marks or double exclamation mark, please go to your folder and just delete all of those photos, because right now, let's readjust the camera a little bit, but first of all, tell me guys, can you hear me? Is everything okay? And give me some kind of plus, thumbs up, or exclamation mark, or just say hello, because as I said, we're going to check our presence. That's always good to say at least hello, so I know that I'm actually talking to a larger crowd. Okay, so oh yeah, there's a lot of you guys. It's great. Okay, so let's continue talking about our inspirations. Right now, you can go through your folders, delete those that didn't get any mark, and leave only those that are actually marked. And it's very important for us because, as I said, we reviewed all of the shots, and some of them actually lost their exclamation marks because we had a conference as a team and we talked about all of your inspirations that you added in, because we want you to create something that is going to be extraordinary. And right now we're going to assign those interiors that you're going to create as your main shots. So Andrea, in your situation, I would suggest doing this shot, because even though it's a little bit empty and I would love to see a little bit wider angle camera, this is actually going to be very, very helpful with your education. And not only it has a lot of interesting materials, but a lot of interesting reflections as well. So you'll be able to model some of the stuff that you see, and there's a little bit of trickery going on here, so we're also going to cover that. Creating lamps like this will require special materials that are going to be partly translucent, so it's also going to be part of that. And soon you will get a little bit of surprise from us, so it's going to be quite nice to actually go through this task. And right now you can actually, Andrea, you can actually pick between those two images. It's up to you which one you want to create, because we made sure that we went through all of your shots. And okay, so also this one is something nice to work on, but what I forgot to tell you is that in this case the background is very boring, so we will be adding something more interesting, because all in all it's going to into your portfolio. So we just don't want any kind of fence behind the window. We want you to create something more extraordinary, just to make this a little bit more inspiring. And well, we're just going to make sure that your clients are going to follow you. Okay, Clary, we need you now to add in items to your folder like inspirations, and we're soon starting working on our own models. So I know that you know the drill, Clary, but we still need you to follow the rules. So go into your folder, look for the inspirations, and today after our webinar we will have 1 hour extra to finally get a hold of your inspiration. So we're going to now call it a reference image. So we're just going to pick it, and if you're certainly not sure right now, please go look for something similar to those images that you see that we mark even with other users with exclamation marks. So it's just that we need you to cover all those elements. Guys, so far any questions? Because if you have any question regarding your own inspirations, you can just ask them. Okay, this is a late bloomer and this wasn't here. I'm almost 100% sure that this is a 3D render, so is actually really good and I like it, but it's a 3D render. So as long as you're okay with working on render to recreate a render, we can do that, but try to look for something that is actually a photo. This is okay, but again, this is an amazing shot, but it's a 3D visual. That's why I would strongly encourage you to do this. This is 100% a photo, a little bit over photoshopped, but you'll see that this is actually a photo. So we've got nice background, which is a little bit burned out. It's a natural effect, and we're going to do our shots like that. Mike, I added a photo. Yeah, I didn't see it because it actually sent out as some kind of weird attachment, and I wasn't really able to download it. So no, I haven't seen it, but now I did, and that's a 3D render. This is a strong position to work with, so I would suggest you do this one. This is amazing shot for a second one, as soon as you are a little bit more acquainted with 3ds Max. When you know the drill, you will be able to do this, but as your first shot, I would really strongly suggest you do this, because it's just something really good. again, this could be your work as well, but this is actually the most educational element of all. There's a lot of stuff that we will be covering in the videos, so you'll be able to use the knowledge that you already have. And the most important element is that the artificial light is not the lead light. We want you to make sure that you first work with natural daylight, then we will be moving on to more advanced lighting, which is artificial lighting. And of course, I forgot to check if the homework is done in your folders, so let's just go through it. I see that not everything is finished, but so far so good. Actually, this looks really pro. So yeah, just continue working on. Go on. It's actually looking good. I like that you added all of those screenshots like this. It's really easy to read all of those elements, so good job. I actually see no elements. Okay, I actually see something. So yeah, we've got a little bit of welded polygons around here. You can see that those vertices are a little bit either overreaching or they're welded. So we need to fix that, because you can see that this small dot is forming, and that's the overlap that you have. So you just need to move your vertices up and down, and it's going to be fixed. So yeah, looks good. What are you going to saying about looking for more images for the market inspirations? So that was look for something similar to these images. I mean the tone, the 2-point perspective in this case, and of course look for nice reflections on your materials. We want you to learn how to create nice realistically looking reflections. So shots that have reflections like this are really welcomed. So that's that. And of course, let's go through this folder. Okay, Clara, we need a little bit more homework. I guess you are a little bit further in your homework than this. So, okay. And as for inspirations, remember, you can still keep looking for images similar to that. But don't get too crazy with it. I would say that from all the shots that we've seen so far, this is one of the best shots that you added, Dimitra. So I would strongly suggest you do this one. And of course, I can see that there's a lot of different images that you already deleted. So since you are advanced, you can also try your luck with this one, but of course it's going to be a little bit more challenging. So this is going to pretty much cover all of those elements of the, that we do cover in videos as it comes to materials. So I guess this is going to be really fun to do. Okay, now let's go through the homework from Donald. And yeah, that's what I expected from you. I see that you made your own design around here. I guess you like this one a little bit more. It's okay. We actually wanted you to try out all of those options, so you can go a little bit crazy with that. Also, we will be adding more inspirations pictures, and it's not like you need to add more inspiration pictures. I said only that if you are not happy with what we already picked together, you can still look for something, but let's make it like 15 minutes now or maximum 1 hour after the webinar. So we're going to assign this inspiration to you right now, so you can actually start working on your homework as you go. So great. Again, everything looks good. Clean mesh, no problems. Okay, we've got all the progress all together. Great. Everything looks amazing. I can see that you are able to create a clean mesh, so that's actually really nice. Again, really good. those of you that work with 3ds Max already, how did you like this element? I mean, hiding your ceiling like this, making it a box, because honestly, working with a lot of professionals, they tend to just hide the roof or the ceiling, and it's always that they have to unhide the stuff before they continue working on. So I find it to be a really good trick with 3ds Max, and maybe you actually found this to be helpful as well. So I hope that it actually was. Okay, so what do we have here? Model looks clean. Again, really good model. There's actually, okay, again, really nice interior, so looking good. And okay, so I can see that you went one step ahead of everybody and actually added a little bit more. So again, good job, you passed. So we still need the second one. I know that it may look a little bit redundant to do it like that, but we just need you to practice and work on it a little bit more. So in this case, we actually haven't seen this one yet. When was it added? So Francesca, this could be your inspiration because you already are acquainted with 3ds Max a little bit, but you need to note that this image is photoshopped. We've got some kind of mirroring going on here, so you will have to crop it out before you add it in. So you may also expect that some of the parts of this model are going to be heavily over photoshopped, since they already did that. So it may be a little bit harder. It looks like there's a mirror around here, but I would probably think that this is actually Photoshop, because the mirror doesn't really apply around here. I guess this is okay, but you know, it's going to be hard. This could be your first shot because it's going to be fast to create, and I'm not sure how much time you have. So one of those two shots is going to be your first shot, and this is a 3D visual, so I would probably pass on this one. Oh no, sorry, this is actually a photo, but let's pass on this one for now. This could be your second shot, but start working on either this one or this one. I would suggest you do this one as first one, because we still haven't seen any of your homework so far, so maybe you want to add it in. Okay, Katerina, so let's see how it works. Okay, so your homework is pretty much done, and let's see it for ourselves. You even added this group's name, so good job. Yeah, looks fine. Looks really fine. Did you have any problems with that, with this homework? I know that I used a little bit, we used a little bit workarounds here and there, but most of the time it's just going to be to your benefit to work like that, because we want you to know all the tools and how to use them, and not only just create something and forget about the options. Okay, so layers look good. Yeah, so those of you that work with a little bit older 3ds Max, and I mean like 2016, are not going to be able to work with those layer inside of layers, so you may want to upgrade up at least to 2018. And as for your inspirations, you actually found something really amazing in your last batch. So all the inspirations, exteriors, my work, and okay, so where is it? Did you delete something? So this is actually a really nice shot to start with. Of course, we won't be stressing out about this wall like this. We can actually go through some of the elements of it, and I'm going to show you how to add layered materials, so you can actually mix two materials to create effects like this. But remember, it's a little bit of overkill, and in your case, you won't be really required to create materials like this. I moved some of the old inspirations, as you said, because it didn't get in. Okay, so it seems like it's everything okay. So this also looks really nice. This is actually equipped with a lot of nice reflections, quite easy geometry, and nice light. So pretty much all the elements that we want you to go through are here. So let's just try doing this because this is a really great shot. And as for your RAM, you are limited to 16 gigabytes. So starting off with this shot is going to be a little bit, let's say, overwhelming for your computer, but it's still possible as a second shot. So I would say that this could be it. Also, this shot is right. So yeah, we'll just decide on it via chat, because there's a lot of good stuff that you added in. So just pick one of them and just delete all the rest, or put them in some other folder, and just pretty much leave only those that you will be working on. I'm getting 32 this week. So is that a happy birthday, or okay, so okay, RAM, sorry for that. So sorry for that. Anyway, so in this case, I would suggest you to start with this shot. This is actually something that you can really start with because of your RAM right now. If you are able to, please try to upgrade, because almost 8 gigabytes is not enough, and your processor is going to be really good because we already tested it. It's not going to be too slow, so no problem here. But in your case, larger scenes are going to be out of your reach. Meanwhile, when you are done with modeling this shot, or you just don't know how to move on from that point, you can start working on this one, because this is also an amazing shot, and I would like you to also do shot like this, because it just looks good. So one of those two, or both of them. Either way, this shot with 8 gigabytes of RAM is out of the question, so we cannot go for it. This is also good, but those two are really amazing, so do both, or just this one. Okay, so about the homework, what do we have here? Nothing new. Did I also skip somebody else? No, okay. Małgorzata. Okay, let's see what we have here. Both of the shots are already modeled, so nothing to add here. Everything looks as it should. Some of the students usually have a little bit of problem with using Boolean, and tell me guys, did you actually had any? Because, well, some of the people are actually asking questions about it, and so far nobody did. So I guess that it's actually either really nicely explained, or you're actually that smart. So I hope that it's actually the second one, second option. So everything looks good. As for your inspirations, let's start working on this one. It's going to be a little bit tricky to add a background like this, so we're not going to do the same urban shot, because we're going to either work with photo, HDRI, or mix of mesh and photos. So there's a lot of stuff to go through. We'll be working on missing homework tomorrow, so my folder will be more up to date for the Wednesday webinar. It's okay, Zara. About your inspirations, Zara, could you please look a little bit further for more inspirations? Because we went through all of the shots as a team, and I think that even though these shots are really brilliant and they look good, those turned out to be really over photoshopped. So we can do this shot as a side shot, because it's going to be really easy, and just by creating this front shot, you will be able to pretty much deliver all 3 shots that you uploaded, but it shouldn't be your first shot. And as for this one, again, since you are starting with 3ds Max from the very beginner level, and those walls are going to be a little bit tricky because those are not exactly X and Y axis, you can still keep looking for a little bit more inspiration. So add 2 or 3 images similar to those that you already seen that we accepted as a team. So today we will be deciding and pretty much assigning your homework. So that is going to be, of course, your interior. Okay, so right now this homework looks really good. Good job, Mario. So yeah, everything looks on point. So as for interiors, honestly guys, I'm really amazed how well you all did. There's a little bit of problem around here, so luckily I was able to point out something at least. Stop it here. Okay, so it's actually a false start from my part. Anyway, good job, looks clean. Need a little bit more work still, but looks really good. So for you, as your first shot, I would suggest this shot, as it's going to cover a lot of materials, and of course it's going to be a little bit tricky with this light reflections, and those are also going to be very impressive. As your second shot, I would suggest you do this one. Meanwhile, when you're done with your first shot, you can just pretty much try to work on those. Firstly, I thought that this is going to be the best for your first shot, but honestly, looking at your current progress, you can actually go for something more ambitious because you're really doing great. So you can start working on something a little bit more advanced from the very beginning. Okay, this I really cannot pronounce your name, so in your case, we will be looking for a little bit more shots of this kind. Since you joined a little bit later and we still haven't seen your level and how you perform and how well you do with 3ds Max, I guess you can give yourself a little bit more time to look for inspirations. In your case, I see that you really want to work with a mix of classic glamour style and really modern style kind of office. So we will have to decide on one of those or both of them. And 3ds Max Startup. So that's actually something new. We will be going through this in our support windows. So I would suggest you look a little bit further for some inspirations, because honestly, those elements aren't hard, but those are going to be really hard on your computer, and those are going to be time consuming. It's not something that we are unable to teach you, but for a first shot, please try to work on something a little bit more to the ground. In this case, it's a really nice shot to work with. Yes, this means good. That's actually covering a lot of materials at the same time and has a little bit of reflection. So remember, the key element is to look for natural light, and we want you to find something that has the lead light is actually the natural light. So that's really something to focus on. This is also a nice shot, but there's no direct light. It's totally ambient, so that means that there's a lot of trickery going on with flash. So probably we want to skip this for now. So please keep looking for your inspirations and try to tone it down a little bit, and please mark what kind of level you are at. I mean, did you just started with 3ds Max, or are you already advanced? So Let's just go through this, and remember, once you're stuck on something with your homework, contact me and we're going to work on it. This is the best of all of your shots, so I would say that this shot has a lot of contrast, a lot of materials to work with, and it's actually going to be good for you. But since you are not a beginner, I would strongly suggest you to do either this one or start working on this one. This is amazing, and this is going to work really well in your portfolio, mostly because there's a little bit of trickery going on here, and that's why we also decided that this is also a good shot for you. You already know a little bit about 3D modeling, so I guess both of those shots are going to be okay, and all three of those are really nice for secondary shots. So I guess that this folder is pretty much, you should keep all of those inspirations for now, and let's decide on what you're going to work on the chat. So if you won't have any questions, please ask them. We're just going to go through it. And as you noticed, guys, some of you are a little bit late with your homework right now, so don't get discouraged because we're not going to leave you behind. It's not like that. We're still going to help you out all the way. We're just not quitting on you, or when we will be working on, let's say, other topic, you can still ask questions even about the first homework, because, well, that's what support is for. And it's not like since we had deadline till the Monday, you cannot really go back and try to redo those homeworks. Don't worry about it, it's still good. Okay, so looks good, looks clean. Okay, I was hoping that somebody is going to have this problem. So when you create your shapes, it's that's why the first week is this intense. We try to make sure that you're going to be able to actually follow through all of those hardest elements, and believe me, the modeling is actually the hardest element of all 3ds Max. Later on, it's going to be easier and easier on from this point now on, because it's just that when you know how the UI works and what is what, you're just going to get better and better at 3ds Max. So as for that one element that not all of you had a problem with, but you pretty much had this problem, right? So either you could go a little bit few steps back, and if you're working with Max 2020, you can try to add Turbo Smooth, and this is going to happen. This is expected because right now we've got this unchamfered or unopened mesh. So if we try to turn off this cap, it's just going to smooth out all of this mesh, leaving this cap still open, so it's not going to follow and try to smooth out this part. So you're going to understand this a little bit better right now with this smaller curvature. So when we work with Turbo Smooth, it's going to try to create a vertex in midway between the vertex situated here and the vertex situated here. So still we don't have any vertex around here, so it's trying to calculate the easiest path to connect all of those. So it's going to create this middle point, and as you can see, it means that we've got this point in the middle. The previously middle vertex is moved somewhere around here, creating this curvature, and again we've got a little bit more vertices coming from here. So you can see that we've got a lot of midpoints created. In here, it looks a little bit less understandable because it's a spear or it's just looks confusing. So to fix this, all you need to do is either click on this cap to open it, or if you're working with a little bit older version of 3ds Max, you can go back, convert to editable poly, and delete both of those parts manually. if you have these brackets, I would suggest you to click on J in older versions of 3ds Max, and in 3ds Max 2020 it's Shift J. So it's going to hide those brackets. They may be annoying at times, so I would suggest you do that. Surprisingly, I was actually able to go through some of the problems with your models, so I'm really happy that you actually give me some work. As for the rest of your model, looks amazing. We really like this shot. It's easy, it's fast to create, and you're going to have a lot of time to work on your second shot once you're done with this one. So you can also look for a little bit more inspirations, one or two. So right now, all of those inspirations that you added, Nathan, are pretty much good as your first shot. So you can try working on pretty much both of them. But if you pick one of them, don't do the other one. Try to find something a little bit more complex from this point now on, maybe 2-point perspective, so you can try both of them out and you're going to be okay. So right now I'm going to go through next folder. And remember, guys, you can still ask a lot of questions. So soon we will be starting our work with different elements of 3ds Max, and those elements are going to be very efficient for us. Those are going to be very helpful. And as I said, please try to limit yourself to 10 images. 20 is a little bit more than 10, so I guess we can skip some of them. So again, please delete those that didn't get any marks from us, because okay, this is a 3D render, by the way. Most of the this is a really nice shot. You can start working on it. All depends on how well you perform with your homeworks. Again, this is probably a 3D render. I cannot tell as this is not really a high quality image, but it lacks a little bit of details and on this window, so it's probably a 3D render, and it's actually hard to decide because it's just a little bit too low quality to make sure. When it comes to shots like this, we try to avoid it because they never look good in your portfolio unless it's a second or third shot. That's that. Also, this is a nice shot for a second image, and yeah, that'll be it. Yes, this could be also okay, but it's a little bit empty, so we're just going to ignore that. Okay, so what do we have here? A little bit more renders. I guess the whole group already seen this. So yes, I see that you have a lot of props already, but again, you forgot to move this faucet a little bit up, because right now it's intersecting, and that's a mistake. So you can fix this, or you can just move on. Now you can actually see that by modeling this shot out of that one picture, you can pretty much move the camera around and make different shots. So that's going to be also part of our journey, creating different shots from our previously created interiors. That's why I'm really that pushy when it comes to your inspirations. So everything looks great, I guess. Since you're a little bit better, more advanced, I'm going to point out that this is a little bit crooked, so that may be fixable. Also, somewhere around here could be fixed, but you actually did something more than the rest of the group did. So really great job. Congratulations again. And let's see how clean your mesh is. Yeah, it is. It's just boxes, I know, but I'm trying to be a little bit more. I'm trying to point out more in your case because you're actually quite advanced. That's why we're going to pick the most advanced inspirations in your case. So as for these shots, well, they are self-explanatory. Thank you for this VizAcademy logo here. That actually looks surprisingly nice. So yeah, looks really nice, clean mesh. Everything looks great, and we're lacking your the inspirations are actually here. So this could be your secondary shot. So while you're working on your first shot, you can actually start working on this one in a parallel scene. So it's just going to be something to play a little bit more with the light. So I guess with your level of experience you can start big. So this is going to be quite advanced. It's going to require a lot of RAM, and in this case I would suggest you to start with this one. In your case, we're going to have to show a little bit more when it comes to options that 3ds Max has, and especially Corona Renderer for reflections around here, because those are reflections that come from the right side. So there's an object somewhere around here that is reflecting this, or it's actually coming from that side. We're still going to try to hunt those down to see what exactly we're dealing with. You could add the source material for this shot, so we'll be looking for more shots from this area, and well, it's still quite easy to model in terms of the geometry, but there's a lot of trickery when it comes to the lighting and materials. So there's a lot of things that you can actually focus on, and of course good materials are going to be required in all of your cases, guys. So we're going to go through this. And when it comes to your secondary shot, I mean, when you're done with this one, you can also start working on this thing. It's going to be very complex, it's going to take a lot of time, and it's going to require a lot of thinking, and we're also going to use a little bit different light source than in the first one. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on, and we're going to use your work as a good case study for all of us to learn a little bit more. I guess it's going to be very beneficial for all of you guys. Okay, so in this case, your folder, still this I would deem to be the best shot from all of your shots, but this is also a really nice thing to do. I guess we could change the background to something else, because just adding this is going to be a little bit boring. So we can just move this scenario to mountains, I don't know, somewhere more interesting than a wall. And from all the shots that I can see, this is also something nice to work on. It's going to be a little bit harder to deliver, but I guess again you're really doing great, so there's no point in going easy on you. So with 16 gigabytes of RAM, you're going to do very good. So Shafiq, I guess it's going to be possible for you to work on. And again, in your case, you really wanted this shot, so I guess we can work on this, but please be advised that there's a lot of Photoshop in here. So when you'll be setting up your light, it's going to look a little bit different most of the time, because it's not only that there's a lot of fake lights positioned by the photographer, but also there's a lot of trickery going on in Photoshop, especially those materials. They do not look like this in real life. Those elements are not going to be as shiny in real life, and one thing that I need you guys to understand is that when you have reflections like this in your interior, and you can actually see this small reflections around here, when you have this white reflections coming from outside, it's pretty obvious that the background is heavily over photoshopped. That means that double exposure was used, or triple exposure was used for this shot. We will not create fake backgrounds like that, because in my opinion, they look really fake, and I would suggest you work on more, let's say, real life situations where we've got the real life situation would be that your background is going to be a little bit burned out with light like this. This is more natural and less over Photoshop than all the rest of the photos. This one, no, I guess this is actually the best shot you can work on, because it doesn't have this artificial background, but it's still really heavily over photoshopped. So we will have to go back and forth with it, but as we all know, you are quite advanced when it comes to 3D visualizations, so you'll be able to actually get there with Photoshop. Mostly you're going to use clarity and dehaze, and as your second or third shot, I would suggest you do this, and we're actually assigning you this since it's going to be quite advanced to do so. I mean, quite hard to do so. You can work on that. As for the rest of your shots, this is also a really good. All of the shots that are left right now are really good, but those two are going to be most complex. Those are going to be secondary complex, and of course this complexity is also going to be present in here. So this is okay for your first shot, but also if you wish to work on this one, you can do that, but you need to be advised that we've got a lot of fake light, and you can see that it's coming from all the sides, so it's just not going to look the same when it in terms of lighting, because it's just going to well, it was over photoshopped. It is actually over photoshopped. You can see that all those shadows are really crazy around here. So the model itself is going to be fine, but it's going to require a lot of thinking. So I guess it's going to be good. None of my inspiration was already marked as first. All right, let's see. I guess we will see. Okay. Okay, so the homework is done. Please do this as your first shot. This is actually the best you can you could add in. So I guess this is really good, but of course those two are also great. So as a team, we decided that those shots that are marked are going to be the best. Okay, Yiting, this is again, this is quite ambitious. This is going to be a little bit hard to work on, but it's possible to pull off. It all depends on how much time you can spend on your shot, because there's a little bit of trickery going on with the ceiling, which I would like our group to explore, because not only with one of the students we have this nice arc with bricks, so I want to show all of you how to create that kind of arc, but also this kind of arc, because it may be that some of you will be creating shots like this. Of course, the floor is going to be amazing, and we will probably open the curtains just for the sake of getting a little bit better shot. But yeah, this really looks good. Also, if you're not feeling too ambitious, you can start from this one. It's not bad, it's not worse, it's just that it's going to take you less time to create this shot. And as for your homework and thinking that you already did everything and you barely ask any questions, I guess you're going to be really fine on your own. But I can see that we've got a little bit of problems going on here. I guess it's the shell modifier, so try working with the shell again. Yes, you can do both, but all depends on your own abilities. in this case, I would say that yeah, this definitely needs a little bit of fixing. So we may connect on AnyDesk a little bit later to go through this to see what exactly is wrong with this shot. But yeah, it looks good. Again, this is a detail, but it's going to be a big giveaway if you put your stuff inside of your carpets. So that's actually something that I wanted you to pay a little bit more attention to, because there's a lot of elements of those coffee tables that should not be inside of one another. So that was actually one of the booby traps that we planted. I hope that you will actually avoid this, but it's good to point out that when you have your items levitating or intersecting with one another, it's going to be a great giveaway, and it's going to take away from your 3D visualization photorealism, so you may want to avoid that. But the kitchen one is looking really great. So I guess it's just something that we can work on. Again, all depends on your own liking. So yeah, again, let's go to Zara's folder. Okay, you already added, great. I'm just going to go through those quickly. I guess that okay, this is a 3D visual, I guess. Yeah, it's probably 3D. Okay, this is something hard to work on. Let's see what kind of okay, this computer can handle literally anything. So again, give me 15 minutes after the webinar. I guess this is a really nice shot, but 1-point perspective is going to be a little bit tricky to work on as for a beginner. So I always encourage our students to work on shots like this, but this one again has a little bit of artificial light going on here, and it doesn't have obvious light sources, so it's going to be a little bit harder to work on. But there's a lot of options in here. So unapproved. Oh yeah. So guys, for today we've got a little bit of playful elements planned. So what I actually want to show you is how to work with 1-point perspective. For that, I'm going to download one of your images, and I'm just going to go into your folders and look for some kind of 1-point perspective images, and we're just going to try to align the camera. There's a lot of things that you need to know about 1-point perspective because it's a little bit harder to work on, and it's not going to be as easy as it may seem, because 1-point perspective is always going to have a middle point. So as soon as the photographer is going to take a photo and crop out elements of the shot, you're going to have a little bit of problem in 3ds Max, and the middle point is not always going to be easy to point out. I guess I'm just going to go back to Zara's folder then. So the middle point is not always going to be easy to point out, but in here it's actually quite obvious. So let's just jump into this folder, and let me again go ahead and try to download this to my VizAcademy folder. Okay, I've got it. So if we open this image again, it's going to be a little bit tricky because you can see that this vanishing line is going into the middle, but it's not exactly in the middle of the image. Oh, sorry for this. And so anyway, if we try to point our camera this way, 3ds Max is going to go a little bit crazy. And why is that? Mostly because it's just going to expect a little bit more in terms of your shot. So what I mean by that is that, okay, let me just go for line tool. So what I mean is that if we trace those parts, this midpoint is not exactly in the middle. So if we try to go for, let's go for percentage, the midpoint is not exactly, in this case, in the middle in both of the axes. So it's going to be a little bit harder for 3ds Max to understand what we're dealing with. So if we try to copy this element, you're going to see that it's not going to fit all the way around. So 3ds Max is going to basically try to make up for it and look for the midpoint in the midpoint of the image itself. I know it sounds a little bit stupid, but it's just that 3ds Max is going to look at this image and think that the midpoint is exactly here. So it's not going to allow you to exactly align the camera. In this case, we're going to use the knowledge that you already have, and we're going to work with the most commonly used aperture and the most commonly used lens. For that, we either can add a little bit more to our image. So by knowing that we've got a little bit too much and our midpoint is somewhere around here, we can basically go to Photoshop and try to Control J this element. Let's just free transform it, move it horizontally, and just add this missing element in. So for that, I'm going to crop and add a little bit more. So we're just going to make sure that now our image is going to be basically placed in the 50%. So again, you need to do the same for up and down to make sure that your image is going to be traceable. But again, it's going to require a little bit of workarounds. So we need to now merge those. We can now go for a Control J. We don't have to merge anything yet. Now we can move this here. So it's again going to create this weird shape where we can actually crop out some of the parts of this image. Right now we need to fit this here and delete both of those extras. So remember to add a little bit of the background, so it's just going to be like that. That's why I would like you to start working with your images that have 2-point perspective, because the same problem doesn't occur with this kind of images. But as I said, it's going to be present in some of your shots. So this is the workaround that you will have to do in this case. And as I said, we're preparing you for clients that are going to be hard. And that means that some of your clients are not going to really have a lot of professional information, so it's just going to be a little bit harder to work with them. That's why we need to do this extra cropping. So yeah, that's going to be a little bit tricky and a little bit harder to work on. But from this point now on, all we need to do is save this image as JPEG with this extra borders. Later on, I'm going to show you how to use only part of your image, or we can just add in something on our own. I guess that the photographer just didn't like what was here in this shot, so they just crop it out, but it's okay. So as I said, some of you are going to use different versions of 3ds Max, and that's okay, because most of you are still going to use the same versions as we do, or at least the most modern. So again, we need to turn on the save frames, Shift F, for those of you that don't know what kind of shortcut we should use, and we need to clearly read through these elements of our picture. So it's easiest to work with exactly box images in case of 1-point perspective, but it's not necessary. So let's just go through this and add both of those dimensions. So first of all, it's going to be 588 when it comes to width, and when it comes to height, we're going to go for 620. So this is the image now in the proper proportions, and we're just going to assume that we're working with somebody who uses regular lens. For that, I'm going to create a camera, and we're not going to align our camera right now. Why? Because if we try to do perspective match in 1-point perspective, it's just going to be a little bit too hard. So it's not going to work as we intended to, mostly because the Z values are going to still be up and down. Your X values are going to be totally flat, and your Y values are going to be pretty tricky. So it's not going to be easy to work with a camera alignment like this, because you can see that everything is now escaping. So instead, we're just going to assume a lot about our camera. So we're going to select it, move it a little bit closer to the middle, make sure that we're not dealing with this point perspective match right now, and we're just going to assume a little bit about our image again. So first of all, the camera. I'm going to select it. After you select your camera and try to position it, remember to check if the scale is proper. Now it is, so let's go into our camera. So we're going to use focal length, and we're going to start from the very basic lens, that is 18. In this case, it's always going to be a little bit of a problem to set the proper lens. So 18 and 24 are pretty much your points to start with. Select your camera again and position it on the height that is usual for shots like this. And the usual height for your camera when taking shots like this is somewhere in between 160 and 180, because photographers will set the tripod on this level, because this is just how they do it. And again, we're just going to try to adjust our height, and in this case it's pretty much set right now. Make sure that your camera is also going to be rotated in the proper manner. So you can already see that those lines are basically aligning. So right now, without moving my camera, I'm just going to start working with all of those models. So by creating this model, this is how you start. Right now, you can start working on your model, and please don't try to properly camera align any further, because at this point it's just going to be redundant. We're just going to start working on this model and start modeling as I did right now. It's going to be really easy to point out most of those elements when you follow my steps, so please remember to rewatch this webinar if you will have any kind of problems. So as you can see, even the camera position is now correct, because it's still almost aligning perfectly to this line. So this is how you can do it, and this is going to be one of those things that you will just have to work with on your own. And of course, on your own, I mean that we will be helping you along the way, but at the same time, it's just going to require you a little bit more thinking than the usual. So please try to align this like that. And remember, all of those photos that are going to be 1-point perspective are going to be flattened in Photoshop. So that means that there's no point in getting into perfect alignment. I mean, it's just not possible to perfectly align 1-point perspective. So you can try it, but don't waste time on it, because it's just going to take a little bit too much time to do it perfectly. And as I said, there's no such thing as perfect camera alignment, because those photos are always photoshopped and stretched. There's just no other way around it, and even your cameras are going to do the same. So again, from this point you can just start creating next elements of your interior, and it's pretty much going to cover all of the parts. Make sure that you're working with proper dimensions. So you're going to have to go back and forth with some of the parts of your interior, because right now I can see that my table is a little bit too high, too tall, I mean. So we're just going to try to move it back and forth to make sure that I'm actually working with the proper values. So again, we're just going to try to move it back and forth to make sure that my camera match is going to be almost perfect. So right now, this is how you handle 1-point perspective. Make sure that your camera is going to be somewhere in between 160 to 180 centimeters when it comes to height, and don't try to over rotate it. Also guys, remember that Corona is still experiencing this bug, so instead of Corona camera, please use the camera that is that comes as a standard. So use physical camera for your camera alignment. If you already have your camera aligned with perspective, all you need to do is pretty much click C, so it's going to jump your view is going to jump to the camera. And if I would click on, wait a sec, I'm going to move back a little bit because now I lost my camera alignment. Misclick. Anyway, when you have your camera positioned, you can pretty much click on your camera, right, like so, Control C, and it's going to jump right into the point of your view. So you can now jump into the camera and it's going to be pretty much the same view. Okay, so I guess this concludes this webinar, guys. You're going to get homework really soon, so you're going to be able to start working on your own interiors. And what is also important is that on the next webinar we will be talking a little bit about 3D Sky. I don't know if you already went through this website, but 3D Sky is industry standard right now. What exactly is 3D Sky? It's a ultra cheap market with models that always come in one price. So sometimes you will be met with models that are just so complex that you cannot believe that they only cost $8, actually $7. So it's just that this kind of model would take a user with quite fair experience at least 2 hours to create. And I don't know what your hourly rate is, but creating that kind of model on probably most of you would take at least 2 or 3 hours, even after our course. So buying this kind of models is just going to be efficient and it's going to allow you to work faster. So if you are going to look for models for your interiors, try to nail down all of those. Are the webinars saved? Because I like to rewatch. Yes, the webinars are saved and you can revisit them. Just try to type in on your email the correct number of your webinar that you want to revisit, and you're going to be able to do so. Mike, I had one of inspirations. Okay, check back. Let's just do it right now. Okay, let's go through one more Clara's inspiration. Really good, but we need sorry for that pop. We need a little bit more shots from this interior because it's pretty much a close-up. I would say that this image is really great to work on. Try to look for shots like this or like this, but this was just a 3D visual, that's why we cannot accept it. But shots like this 3 are amazingly good. Also this one, but we know why you are not taking it. So this is a close-up and it's just not going to work. Okay, so as I was saying, this is a industry standard. It saves you money, time, and when you are working with specific architects or designers, you can pretty much type in any kind of company that you're looking for, as long as this company is known. So there's a lot of models that you can find from all the producers, companies. So those sets are going to be very, very helpful. I would like to ask, what's the most complex objects when you make 3D sofas and beds? Those are the most complex when it comes to modeling, not because of the frame or the back. Those are usually quite easy, but the wrinkles and all of those pillows, cushions, everything like that is just going to take you a little bit too much time, and usually it requires external software like Marvelous Designer to pretty much simulate those. So this is pretty much how this works, and most of the time you will have to simulate those elements. So just modeling stuff like this by hand is pretty much impossible because it's just too complex at this moment, and 3ds Max has clove simulation, but honestly it's really low level. So models like this require not only proper modeling but also sculpting and sometimes clove simulation, especially elements like this. So we will be going through this topic, but right now Marvelous Designer is not part of our course, but we're actually working on some of the instructional videos to work with Marvelous Designer, and when those are done, even if we finish them after you are done with this group, we will be still sending them to you, so you're not going to miss out on anything. Anyway, you all have your 3D Sky logins. How many models can we take from 3D Sky as a part of our course? As many as you will need to. For our project, of course. By the way, guys, I still haven't told you that, but we're going to buy you pro models from us as a gift to you, so you can work more efficiently, and that means that all of you are going to get 3 or 4 models each to your accounts. So just for now, when we actually top up your accounts, don't download anything, and I mean anything, even the free models. You can actually create a new account to not waste models, points, because there's a trick in 3D Sky which I'm going to show you, and I really want you to pay attention right now, because if you click on free, the first page of 3D Sky is going to be set to free models. So you will feel a little bit encouraged to download something, but as soon as you click on the second page, it's going to revert back to the previous setting. That means that you're going to probably think that you're still browsing free models, but now you're browsing the mix. So for the second page, you need again to click on free, and now you're actually in the free zone. So you can see that the free models are actually also high quality. After we are done with our first interiors, I'm going to send you a little bit of links, because once I get to users like this with, let's say, fairly good models and that are free. So let's say Gramercy Home. Gramercy Home. If you type in the free Gramercy, you're going to see that there's a lot of really high quality models that come from this user. It's actually a company that's uploading their own models, and those models are really high quality. You can download 3 free models a day. Those are not going to evaporate, so don't be too let's say you don't have to use the 3 models a day daily, but you can see that those models are really high quality. So I would encourage you to look around, and once you have your accounts top up, remember to ask before downloading something. Okay, guys, I guess this is it. I wanted to make sure that all of you send us your 3D Sky accounts. We already have all of your accounts, but if you by mistake or by mistake, I guess, added your account in, let's say, with a wrong login, or you didn't give us the correct username, please send it right now, or make sure that you send the correct one. I'm going to still email you guys with your account names to check if you gave us the correct name, because we're going to top up those probably today or tomorrow, so it's going to take us a few days before the admins from the site actually get into it, but we need the proper username. I sent my but I already used it. It's not no, you don't have to open a new one. It can be your account that you already use as a professional. We're just going to top up it with a few models, so it doesn't have to be a new one. It's okay. We're not asking for your passwords, so don't send those. We just need your username. So that is going to be pretty much the thing that you're going to see once you log in to your 3D Sky. So as I was saying earlier, this concludes this webinar. If you still have, is it okay to make another account for those models instead? I would suggest you to probably if you want to create a new account, you can, but the account that you already gave us is going to be okay. I mean, you just have to be cautious with this free thing, because some of our students are sadly wasting their points, and you know, it's always a waste to download a really low quality models when you think that you're downloading a free model. And yeah, I wanted to show you something that is always going to be the best pro model of all. And yeah, avoid models like this, because wasting even half a dollar on this thing is going to be really bad. I still don't understand why admins didn't delete this, but yeah, it's a pro model, so I still don't know why. Anyway, as I am trying to say that for the third time, this concludes this webinar. Thank you very much for your attention. Be on the lookout for your 3D Sky account top up. We're going to inform you once those are on your accounts. So thank you very much for your attention, and see you on Wednesday.